I'm about to talk about how I was able to completely fund my Kickstarter campaign in under 48 hours. Hey guys, it's been a minute, and a lot of that's due to the fact I've been working on releasing this product that I just launched this Kickstarter for. And I'm finally at the stage now where I can begin sharing this with you guys. And now that I can do that, I really want to take you guys behind the scenes so you can get an inside look at some of the things I'm doing to help bring this product to life, so you guys can take some of the stuff into your journey and maybe I can inspire some of you guys to get started. I got a lot of big things coming up. I'm about to go digital nomad in Costa Rica for about a month, and you'll hear more about that soon. But right now I'm talking about my Kickstarter. And just to share a little backstory here, this product that I just launched a Kickstarter for, it's called Performance Gum. Basically, it's a gum that's targeted towards athletes, that's caffeinated, it's got electrolytes, it's got vitamins, and it's got zinc, all packed into one piece of gum for peak performance on the go. And this idea I had a little over a year ago, and I spent the first 6 months really working on the manufacturer, trying to get the formulation right, figuring out all the things of the business, getting all the pieces of the business together. And this January is when I really started to build the audience for it. And that's kind of the first step. So the fact is, launching through Kickstarter is a great way to validate your idea and lower some of the risk on your end as you're finding out your product's validated and you're possibly raising some capital before you actually have to make a big investment into your product. But even though it's a great way to pre-launch a product, the Kickstarter itself is a launch. And if you want to have a successful Kickstarter, you're going to have to do some preparation to make sure that happens. You can't just post a Kickstarter and hope for the best. There's a whole process that's going to give you the best method of success. So the first one is coming up with a good idea and make sure you have a good idea of a product. All you really need for the Kickstarter itself, you don't need any product already developed. To launch a Kickstarter, you don't need any physical product with you. All you're going to need is a mock-up. You're going to need some great written branded text for the body, and you need a nice product video, and that's it. You're going to need to get people there, but in terms of the actual content you need, that's all you need. And so because of that, it's extremely easy to start validating your idea early in the process. Now, for me, I wanted to make sure I was 100% ready to go with manufacturing by the time I launched my Kickstarter, just because I didn't want to make people wait forever for the product once they buy in. But a lot of people, they're still pretty early on in the stage. They've got the mock-ups. They have to go through the whole manufacturing testing process. And it's a great way to validate their idea from the beginning. So the first step in launching Kickstarter starts way before the Kickstarter, because you got to get prepared and make sure all the people are going to be there. And that starts with a great idea. And so a book that really helped me with this is called The Mom Test. And the book kind of introduces the idea. A lot of the times when we're validating our idea and we're asking others for opinions, they aren't giving us honest answers because we're getting our ego in the way, and people know what we want to hear. So the best way to get honest advice is to take your ego out of the questions when you're asking them. Don't present it as your idea, because people will always have that in mind as, oh, he wants this idea to be good. You know, people always have that preconception in their mind when they're talking about it. So the Mom Test kind of breaks down how you can ask for opinions and ideas without letting all these, if you ask your mom for advice, obviously she's going to say something that's kind to you, and everybody's doing that to some extent. So the Mom Test kind of gives you ways of getting advice and feedback that aren't going to be interrupted by those things. And once I had this great idea here, the next thing I need to do is I need to start building an email list. And another book that really helped me out here is Launched by Paul Walker. And this book is exceptional because it introduces the idea of a prepared launch. Now, he talks about, for so many entrepreneurs, they're so focused on the product that they just focus on the product. They think if I build a great product, people will come. And that's not how it works. That's called hope marketing. You hope people will come, and more oftentimes than not, it doesn't. What you really need is a plan in place, and he does a great job laying it out. He just had a recently revised copy of the book go out. It was amazing and really has shaped my way of how to launch a product. And so his method really involves around, first off, you're gonna need a landing page. You're gonna need something to collect email addresses. There's a bunch of different services, but for myself, I used Lead Pages. And Lead Pages is gonna be great because it's gonna give you all the tools. It's gonna make it super easy. You'll get notifications. You can feed it into MailChimp. And that's the second thing you're gonna need. You're gonna need a email processor. And for me, I use MailChimp. That's gonna allow me to send out newsletters and manage my email address and manage all my email contacts super effectively. But there's a lot of different solutions out there. Figure out what works for you. There's a link to MailChimp down there too if you want to check that out, but figure out what's working for you. So you need an email processor, you need the landing page itself, and you need some branding. So what I did at this point, when I had the landing page, I built it out with the branding I'd already created across that last period, built it out telling people a little bit about the gum, and had a place where you could sign up for the email list and also join a Facebook launch group where people could get a little bit more involved on the behind the scenes of the product. Then I started doing a couple things. I started going after two things: paid traffic and free traffic. I launched a little Facebook campaign where I just run Facebook ads targeting pretty niche demographics. People who go to the gym, people who run, people I thought might be affected by this product. This video is not about to go into Facebook ads. And I also did a TikTok ad. I started posting TikToks just to get views naturally. And I also started sponsoring my TikTok. And I found TikTok was a great way to get cheap leads. And I ended up spending a little bit under $100 on there to get a good number of leads. But I found that some of my best leads from this entire project came naturally. And that was from my Instagram account, getting the word out there, talking to the gyms I'm a part of, reaching people naturally, expanding people for Facebook, and making these natural connections. And I found that those people, not only were they free for me to get, they were the most involved in the future and ended up contributing a lot to the Kickstarter. And so through all these processes, I was able to build an email list of a little over 1,000 people. And once I had these people, I was constantly engaging with them too. I was giving them updates, how the product's going, and I ended up also sending out a lot of free samples. Now these free samples, they cost me a little bit of money. It cost me about $1 to mail it out there with the gum and everything and get it to them with business cards. But the fact of the matter is I'm giving them $1, and the reciprocity factor, if I'm giving enough value to these people, when it comes time when I make an ask, they're gonna be ready to give because I've given them so much in value already. So at this whole stage of the process, I'm letting people vote on flavors, letting people give me feedback on the product. I'm sending out free samples, so I'm giving a lot. And so I know when I make this ask on the Kickstarter, people are gonna be ready to give back. This whole stage I'm going through for a few months, and that's also because I was working on developing the manufacturing at the same time. Really, you only need to do that stage for a month. A month's all you need. If you build a list, if you get it to that number that you think is good, then you're good to go. You don't have to keep waiting around for no reason. Then comes setting up the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter itself, if you get into this video for the Kickstarter, this is the part where I talk strictly about the Kickstarter. And now I need to build the page, and the first thing I needed was a Kickstarter video. Now, you can spend $1,000 on a video, but unless you're planning on raising way more than that, just don't do that. If you go to my Kickstarter right there, I'm gonna link it at the bottom because this is what the whole video is about, really. So you can check out the video I made. I made that video extremely low budget. I shot it with some friends, and luckily I have a pretty nice camera, which I'm shooting on right now. And I was able to make a pretty nice piece of content that looks super professional. Didn't cost me thousands. It didn't even cost me hundreds. It was very cheap to put together, but it still looks nice. You need something that looks nice, but I would not spend tons of money because that's money that you otherwise are going to be able to spend on your product, and that's what's important here. So then comes the body and the text. For me, I really saw there was a lot of power in adding branding and customization and really getting people engaged in the spot. This is the part where you can come off as like a professional company, you can come off some amateur listing on Kickstarter. And so just think about that impression you're giving off, ask others for feedback, but that's really it in terms of setting up the Kickstarter. Once you got that set up, the big set is setting your goal. And now the thing about your goal is you will not get paid out your goal unless you hit it. So with Kickstarter, I highly recommend setting your goal, making sure it's something you can achieve within the first couple days, because a few things about that. First off, once again, if you don't hit your goal, you aren't getting the money. Most of the money you get in your Kickstarter will be raised in the first couple of days. You're gonna have money trickle into the rest, but really you're gonna do this campaign at the beginning, you're gonna raise the most of it then. So don't set it more than like 80% you think you can raise in the first 2 days. Second reason is that Kickstarter's likely gonna see that your campaign is relatively successful, and they might start featuring it. They might send it out their newsletter. They might feature it on their homepage. I wasn't featured on their homepage directly, but I was featured on one of their category pages because they saw it successful and they put me there. And so that's something you can do that's going to show them. It's also going to show other backers on Kickstarter, other people who see your product on Kickstarter. Once you have all that in place, it's time for your big launch. And what you really want to do is let people know about a week in advance. Say, hey, we're launching our Kickstarter next week. You can send out a pre-launch link. And so when you do this, people can start to save it, and also just keep people ready. Tell people, when I was making my rewards, what I did is I had a whole section for early birds. So if you show up quickly, there's only a few spots, but you can get the product cheaper than you otherwise could. Like I put all the rewards as below retail, but the early birds are the ones that were much more below retail. And so these people, if you acted quick, could get the deal. And so I made it super clear in the email that these were gonna go out quick, and so that if you want one, you should act quickly. And so I made this a clear point, and then I followed up again with my email list the day before I launched, getting people ready, saying, hey, we're launching tomorrow, and then I followed up with them when we launched. The second week launch, I post on the Facebook group, I post on the Kickstarter, and I let my friends and relatives know right away. And that's because this first influx is gonna be the most important, because then immediately people are gonna see, okay, this campaign's got some support. And it's momentum. You get the momentum going quickly, and then you're off to a good campaign. If you're sitting there on zero for a period of time, then it might not look good to so many people. So getting that going initially is very important, and so that's what I was able to do by emailing everybody at once. And then a couple hours later, I also followed up on the email list again. Like, you don't want to be spamming your subscribers, but this is the most important day to contact them. Once in the middle, and once the beginning, once the middle, and once the end, and then one's a couple days later. And that's probably the most you'll ever email them apart from your actual launch. And that's just to make sure people hear it. And one way that I do, just so I'm not spamming, is that MailChimp, I can send out an email to only people that haven't opened it yet, or only people that haven't clicked on the link, so I'm not emailing the same people over and over again. I'm only showing it to the people who haven't fully read. And that was it. Within about 48 hours, I was able to reach over 100% of the goal. I still have over 2 weeks left, and I've raised over 115% right now. So it's gone pretty well. It's gone exactly as I hoped, and it's a great catalyst. Like, obviously this isn't all the money I need for the product, but it's a lot of validation. It's a lot of validation for the product to see that 50 people have already ordered it 2 months before they'll ever get it. That's good to see, and it's also a good bit of money that I can use to start the manufacturing process, which I have, and I'll be following along on this channel about for you guys. So in summary, some of the biggest things I did to make this Kickstarter successful was I was super good about the validation that I did to begin with. I wanted an idea that was actually validated, and it wasn't just like something that I and my friends are supporting due to our own egos. And number two, I pre-launched the Kickstarter. Although the Kickstarter is a pre-launch to the actual launch, you need to make sure you're prepared for the Kickstarter. You can't hope market the Kickstarter either. You need to make sure that you should know that a lot of people are gonna give. Like, that doesn't mean friends and relatives, that just means build a list where you know the people on the list are the type of people that are going to give because they've been interacting. I've heard from a lot of Kickstarter and crowdfunding experts that talk about doing this $1 reservation charge to the potential customers. And then these people are like almost 100% likely to give because they've already like gotten their wallets out and given $1 and they put that commitment down. But the thing about it is my product is gum. It's hard to sell like any amount of gum for more than $200. People only pay a certain amount. If you're doing a more expensive product, I think the $1 reservation makes sense. But for something like my product, it really just didn't make sense to do that. But really, you want to make sure people are going to do it. And then number three, just be proactive with your list. Give people value, and they're going to want to give it back. And that's what I did. I sent out a lot of free samples. I let people get involved with the creation of the product, which is huge. And then they feel like they're part of it. They've gotten a lot of value. And now once I make the ask, they're ready to give back. And then four, just be on the act. So four, just be active. Email your backers once they back and stuff. I had a lot of people who weren't involved in my project at all that just found off Kickstarter. You call these people like Kickstarter whales, is what they're often referred to as. People who back hundreds of Kickstarter projects. Like, you can see how many projects your backers have backed. And as soon as I launched, some of them were backing like 500 projects. So this is just like they're going through Kickstarter, finding stuff they like, and supporting it. So you want to make sure to really thank these people because it's really nice that they're able to support entrepreneurs across the world trying to make the dreams come true with their products. So that's big. And there's two books I mentioned. I mentioned The Mom Test and Launched by Jeff Walker. Jeff Walker. Both of the links are going to be down there. I highly recommend reading those books if you're looking at launching a product or validating an idea. This was more a sit-down video, but I got some good content coming up. I'm about to go nomad in Costa Rica for a bit. So if you want to follow along on my journey of launching this product and all the other stages, make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys around. Peace.